Hey, it's Joddie Taylor of Joddie Tried It. Did you know that I have two other podcasts, the Snacky Says podcast and the Quick Story podcast? Well, if you didn't, now you know. Today, I'm very happy to share an episode from Quick Story podcast, which I would consider my storytelling podcast, my Quick Story podcast. Each episode is 10 minutes or less. And as of this recording, I'm about to start recording season 3 in a couple of weeks. I put out 3 to 4 episodes per quarter. So if you're interested, if you're keen, the link will be in the show notes. But let's talk about today's episode. I am sharing a question I often ask myself when I'm feeling overwhelmed, and that is, what can I do? So let's hop on into it. Quick story. One of the questions I ask myself consistently and almost constantly is, what can I do? I like this question because it cuts out all of the noise and maybe drama or feeling of overwhelm. So I'll give some examples. This is a true, of course it's true, but true example. I got an ab roller. I think it's called ab roller, ab wheel, probably a couple of years ago now. And it never occurred to me that I wouldn't be able to perform this move with the ab roller. So I get out of the box, I put it together, and I just go for it, and I fall flat on my face. And so the question became, what can I do? I can do an abs move exercise, but this ain't it. I am going to end up with a bruised and chipped up face. So what can I do? I can do a standing abs routine. That is very doable for me. I can do sit-ups and crunches. And so I actually never quite got back to that ab roller. I'm going to take it out after I record this episode and try again. It's been a couple of years. Surely my core is stronger. But the question is, what can I do? So something to ask yourself when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you try something and you fail, when you feel like you don't have a lot of time is, what can I do? And then do that thing, right? So you might feel 10,000 steps. That's what folks say, right? The internet says, maybe your doctor told you, walk 10,000 steps a day. Maybe you don't have the time, maybe you don't have the energy, maybe 10,000 steps feels like 7,000 steps more than you usually take. It's a lot. That's a big difference, right? Well, what can you do? If you're currently hitting 3,000 steps a day, could you hit 3,500? Could you hit 3,250? Could you hit 3,100? What can you do? Answer that question for yourself and then do that thing. Of course, there's levels to it, right? Now it's 2 weeks, 4 weeks down the road, down the line, you're hitting 3,500. Maybe you want to add another 500 until eventually you hit 10,000. So what can you do? What can you do right now in this moment? And I've started out with goals, which, and I even use the word overwhelm, right? But it could be something happy and something low key, right? Should you meet your bestie for lunch? Should you call your mom? Should you go for a run on your favorite trail? You only have 1 hour or 20 minutes, 30 minutes to do any one of these things. You can't do them all at the same time. So what can you do? Maybe that's not the best example, but fill in the blank. So I just wanted to put that in your head, and I'll tell you who put that question in my head. Millionaire Hoy, who is my favorite online fitness instructor. He is my favorite person in fitness, period. I have been a true fan of his for exactly, what's today's date? It's probably been 7 years to the day. I talk about him all the time. If you've listened to Snacky Says podcast or read the Snacky Says newsletter, listen to it, it's audio newsletter most of the time, you know that I'm his true fan. And I heard him pose that question. Okay, so you can't do this particular move, this particular exercise or routine. What can you do? Answer that question, and I promise you, yeah, I'm using the word promise you. I promise you'll be better off for it because you're doing what you can with the energy you have with the time you have, and you're making a decision from, I believe, an instinctive part of you. Like, what can I do? What can I do right now to get myself a little bit closer to my goal or to whatever it is that you're trying to get done that day or in that moment? So I just wanted to leave you with that question. And maybe you have your own question that works as a sort of guiding light for you. This is mine, and so I wanted to share it. It really helps me have a sense of calm, because I don't think I've ever asked myself that question, and the answer's been like nothing. Unless what you need is some rest, then yeah, nothing. Go sit down someplace, lay down, relax, but consider asking yourself that question. Thank you for listening to my quick story. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of Joddie Tried It. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my newsletter at joddie.substack.com. That's JODDIE.substack.com. And please share with a friend or three. Thanks for listening.